Picture your next meal. Maybe it's a forkful of pasta, a crisp apple, or a slice of warm bread. Ever wonder about the wild journey that bite is about to take? It seems so simple, but it's the kickoff to an amazing biological process. In the next hour, that food will go from being on your plate to becoming the pure energy that's powering your thoughts, your movements, and even your heartbeat right now. Today, we're going to follow a single carbohydrate molecule on its voyage through your body. We'll trace it from your fork, down through the maze of your digestive system, into your bloodstream, and finally, into one single cell, where it becomes the fuel for life itself. By understanding this journey, you'll learn the secret to picking the right carbs, so you can finally conquer that dreaded afternoon energy slump. This isn't just about what you eat, it's about understanding you're fueled. Our story starts with the very first bite. Let's say you're eating a potato, which is packed with starch. Starch is a classic complex carbohydrate, meaning it's a long chain of smaller sugar molecules linked together. In this form, it's way too big for your body to use, so it needs to be taken apart. The moment you start chewing, the breakdown begins. That's mechanical digestion. But something even cooler is happening chemically. Your salivary glands release an enzyme called salivary amylase. Think of amylase as a pair of molecular scissors. It immediately gets to work, snipping those long starch chains into smaller, more manageable pieces. You swallow, and the food travels down the esophagus to the stomach. Now you'd think the stomach, with all its powerful acid, would be a major player here. But surprise, it's more of a holding pattern. The stomach's main gig is to break down proteins and kill off any bad bacteria. In fact, the stomach acid is so strong that it shuts down the salivary amylase. So for a little while, our carbohydrates demolition is on pause while it gets churned into a soupy mix called chyme. As the chyme enters the small intestine, it's like a phone call is made to your pancreas. The pancreas, a sort of chemical factory, answers by releasing a flood of pancreatic juice. This stuff contains a much more powerful version of amylase, called pancreatic amylase. It picks up right where the salivary amylase left off, but it works with incredible speed, chopping the carb chains into even smaller bits. But even these pieces are still too big. The final snip happens right on the surface of the small intestine walls. These walls are covered in microscopic, finger-like projections called villi. Embedded in this massive surface area are specialized enzymes, lactase, sucrase, and maltase. These are the specialists. They perform the final cut, snipping the small chains into individual sugar molecules called monosaccharides. For most of the carbs we eat, the grand prize is glucose. Glucose is the simple sugar your body absolutely loves. It's the preferred source of energy for pretty much every cell in your body. Our complex potato starch has now been completely transformed into a fleet of tiny, absorbable glucose molecules, ready for the next leg of their journey. Now that our carb is pure glucose, it's ready to leave the digestive system and hop onto the body's superhighway, the bloodstream. The glucose molecules are absorbed right through the intestinal lining and into tiny blood vessels. Once in the blood, the glucose starts traveling everywhere. This rise in blood sugar is a critical signal. It alerts the pancreas to release an incredibly important hormone, insulin. Think of insulin as a key. Most of your body's cells, especially muscle and fat cells, have locks on their doors and don't just let glucose wander in. Insulin travels through the blood and fits perfectly into receptors on these cells. It unlocks the door. When insulin unlocks a cell, it signals special glucose transporter proteins to come to the surface. These transporters act like a ferry, grabbing glucose from the blood and pulling it inside. Without insulin, glucose would just be stuck in the bloodstream, unable to deliver its energy, which is the core problem for people with type 1 diabetes. This whole process is happening in trillions of your cells right now, all without you thinking about it. If you're finding this trip through your own biology fascinating, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. We make videos just like this to help you understand the incredible machine you live in. Your support helps us dive even deeper into the science of you. Now, let's get back to our glucose molecule, which is about to become pure power. Our glucose molecule is in the cell, but it still needs to be broken apart to release the energy stored in its chemical bonds. This first stage is called glycolysis, which literally means splitting sugar. It all happens right there in the cell's cytoplasm. Glycolysis is a 10-step chemical dance, but you can think of it in two simple phases: the investment phase and the payoff phase. First, the investment. Just like in business, you have to spend a little to make a lot. The cell invests 2 molecules of ATP, the cell's energy currency, to get the process going. This makes the glucose molecule unstable and ready to be split. That energized, unstable 6-carbon sugar is then snapped in half, creating 2 3-carbon molecules. And now, we hit the payoff phase. During this second half, these 2 molecules are rearranged, and as they are, they release energy. This energy is captured in 2 ways. First, it generates a total of 4 ATP molecules. Since we invested 2 at the start, that's a net profit of 2 ATP. It's a small, quick burst of energy. The 2 pyruvate molecules now embark on the next leg of their journey. They cross the outer mitochondrial membrane and then the inner one, arriving in the innermost compartment, the mitochondrial matrix. This gel-like substance is the bustling factory floor where the next stages of energy production will unfold. The mitochondrion is often called the cell's powerhouse for a reason. It's a specialist, designed with intricate folds in its inner membrane, called cristae, to maximize the surface area for energy synthesis. And it has one crucial requirement to do its job: oxygen. This is why we call this process aerobic respiration. Unlike glycolysis, which can happen without oxygen, everything from this point forward depends on you taking a breath. But before pyruvate can enter the main event, it needs a ticket. It undergoes a crucial transformation in a step called pyruvate oxidation. Think of it as a molecular grooming process. A massive enzyme complex grabs the 3-carbon pyruvate molecule. First, it snips off 1 carbon atom, which combines with oxygen and is released as carbon dioxide. This is a major source of the CO2 you exhale with every breath, the literal remnants of the sugar you consumed. The remaining 2-carbon fragment is what we're after. This fragment, called an acetyl group, is then attached to a helper molecule called coenzyme A, forming the highly reactive molecule, acetyl-CoA. This conversion is not just about trimming down, it's also about harvesting energy. As this reaction occurs, more high-energy electrons are stripped away, charging up another NADH battery for each pyruvate. So, from our single glucose molecule, we've now generated 2 acetyl-CoA molecules and 2 more NADH batteries. Now, acetyl-CoA is primed to enter the legendary Krebs cycle, a process so central to metabolism it's also called the citric acid cycle. Discovered by Sir Hans Krebs in the 1930s, this cycle is the metabolic hub of the cell. It takes place in the mitochondrial matrix and is an elegant, 8-step loop of chemical reactions, each step meticulously guided by a specific enzyme. The cycle begins when our 2-carbon acetyl-CoA molecule joins with a 4-carbon molecule already present in the matrix, called oxaloacetate. This fusion creates a 6-carbon molecule called citrate, the ionized form of citric acid, which is what gives the cycle its other name. This is the official entry point. From here, the cycle acts like a sophisticated metabolic furnace. Over the next 7 steps, the citrate molecule is systematically oxidized, twisted, rearranged, and broken down. The 2 carbon atoms that came from acetyl-CoA are released, one by one, as more molecules of carbon dioxide. But the true purpose of this furnace isn't just to burn fuel, it's to methodically strip away high-energy electrons and protons. With each turn of the cycle, the energy harvest is immense. A small amount of direct energy is produced as 1 molecule of ATP, but the real jackpot is in the electron carriers. Each single turn of the Krebs cycle charges up 3 NADH batteries and 1 molecule of another, slightly different electron carrier called FADH2. And remember, we started with 1 glucose, which gave us 2 pyruvates, and therefore 2 acetyl-CoA molecules. This means the Krebs cycle turns twice for every single glucose molecule we started with. So, let's do the final math for this stage. 2 turns of the cycle yield 2 ATP, a whopping 6 NADH, and 2 FADH2. By now, our original glucose molecule is completely gone. All 6 of its carbon atoms have been released as carbon dioxide. We've only made a net total of 4 ATP directly, 2 from glycolysis and 2 from the Krebs cycle. This feels like a small return, but it's just the pocket change. The real wealth is now stored in our fleet of charged battery packs. We are holding a treasure trove of potential energy, a grand total of 10 NADH and 2 FADH2 molecules, all fully charged and ready to be cashed in at the final, most profitable stage of respiration. After all the preparatory work of glycolysis and the Krebs cycle, we've arrived at the grand finale of cellular respiration, where the vast majority of energy is finally unlocked. The process is called oxidative phosphorylation, and it all happens on the highly folded inner membrane of the mitochondrion. These folds, called cristae, dramatically increase the surface area, packing in millions of protein complexes that form the electron transport chain. The oxidative part of the name is a crucial clue, hinting at the vital role oxygen will play at the very end. Our fully charged NADH and FADH2 batteries, loaded up in the previous stages, arrive and deliver their precious cargo, high-energy electrons. This handoff kicks off a series of rapid-fire redox reactions. As electrons are passed down the chain, they move from a higher energy state to a lower one, like a ball bouncing down a flight of stairs. Each step releases a small, manageable burst of energy. This controlled release is key to capturing the energy efficiently, rather than losing it all as heat. This captured energy is used for one specific job. Several of the protein complexes act as proton pumps, using the energy to actively transport protons, hydrogen ions, from the mitochondrial matrix into the narrow intermembrane space. This creates an incredible electrochemical gradient. There's now a higher concentration of protons and a positive charge on one side of the membrane. This combined gradient is known as the proton motive force, a massive source of potential energy, much like the immense pressure of water stored behind a hydroelectric dam. The protons are desperate to flow back down their gradient, but the membrane blocks them. Their only escape route is through a molecular marvel, an enzyme called ATP synthase. This protein is a true nanoscale turbine. As protons rush through it, a process called chemiosmosis, they force a central part to spin. This rotation provides the mechanical energy to grab a molecule of ADP and attach a third phosphate group, forging the high-energy bond that creates ATP. This process is astonishingly productive, generating the vast majority of the 30-plus ATP molecules we get from a single glucose. Finally, what happens to the electrons? At the end of the chain, they are handed off to oxygen, the final electron acceptor. Oxygen combines with the electrons and some protons to form a harmless byproduct, water. This is why we breathe. Without oxygen to clear the chain, the entire system would jam, and energy production would grind to a halt. We've just followed the ideal journey of a carbohydrate, but not all carbs travel at the same speed, and that's the secret to avoiding that afternoon crash. The key difference is between simple and complex carbs. Simple carbohydrates, found in things like sugary drinks, candy, and white bread, are made of short sugar chains that are incredibly easy to digest. They get broken down and absorbed into the bloodstream almost instantly, causing a rapid, massive spike in blood sugar. Your pancreas panics and releases a huge surge of insulin to quickly get all that sugar out of the blood. But the body often overcorrects. The insulin works well, clearing so much sugar that your blood sugar plummets, crashing far below where it started. This crash is what you feel as the 3 p.m. slump, brain fog, fatigue, and irritability. It's your body screaming that its primary fuel source has suddenly vanished. In fact, research shows that instead of a sugar rush, simple carbs can actually lead to decreased alertness and increased tiredness within an hour. So, how do you finally get off this chaotic energy roller coaster and reclaim your day? The answer lies in making a strategic shift, specifically by embracing complex carbohydrates. These are the high-quality carbs found in nutrient-dense foods like whole grains, such as oatmeal and brown rice, a wide array of vegetables, and hearty beans and legumes like lentils and chickpeas. On a molecular level, they are fundamentally different. Instead of 1 or 2 sugar units, they consist of long, complex, often branched chains of sugar molecules, intricately tangled up with dietary fiber. Because of this structure, your digestive system can't just quickly snip them apart. It has to work much harder and longer. The fiber in particular acts as a physical barrier, slowing down the digestive enzymes that break carbohydrates into glucose. This means glucose is released into your bloodstream, not in a sudden flood, but as a slow, steady trickle. Imagine a gentle, rolling wave of energy instead of a crashing tidal wave. This gradual release is the key to preventing a dramatic blood sugar spike. In response, your pancreas doesn't panic. It releases insulin in a controlled, measured way, just enough to escort the incoming glucose to your cells. This gives your cells a steady, reliable supply of fuel over several hours. The result is a game changer. No spike, no crash. Just sustained, reliable energy that keeps you feeling sharp, focused, and productive. Think of a breakfast of oatmeal powering you through to lunch versus a sugary cereal that leaves you foggy by 10 a.m. Plus, that indigestible fiber provides another fantastic bonus. It helps you feel full and satisfied for much longer. This feeling, known as satiety, is a powerful tool for managing appetite. And what about any extra glucose your cells don't need for immediate energy? Your body is an expert at resource management. It cleverly stores this surplus in your liver and muscles in an easily accessible form called glycogen. Think of glycogen as your body's personal rechargeable power bank. These stores are ready to be converted back into glucose whenever you need a boost, whether it's to power you through an afternoon workout or simply to maintain your energy levels between meals. From a bite of food to a cascade of molecular reactions, the journey of a carbohydrate is incredible. We've seen it snipped apart by enzymes, welcomed into a cell by insulin, split in glycolysis, dismantled in the Krebs cycle, and finally cashed in for massive amounts of ATP. And understanding this journey is a superpower. It's no longer about carbs are good or carbs are bad. It's about knowing that the carb you choose determines the quality of energy you get. By opting for complex carbs, you're choosing a slow-burning, steady fuel source. You're choosing sustained energy over a temporary rush and the inevitable crash. You're choosing to work your biology, not against it. If this changed the way you look at your plate, share this video with someone who might find it useful. And for more deep dives into the science of how your body works, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. Thanks for watching.